So today we're going to be covering Hellboy Seed of Destruction. This is the first story arc in the Hellboy series. We'll be covering Omnibuses volumes 1 through 4. So if you're new to the Hellboy story like I am, or if you're a fan of the series and you just want to see my thoughts as I go through the story and review it, be sure to subscribe as we'll be covering Omnibuses 1 through 4 in this and future videos on the channel. So without further ado, let's jump right into today's story. So our story starts off with some soldiers stumbling upon an ancient site. A lady by the name of Lady Cynthia tells the sergeant that something will happen in this place. At the same time this is happening, a weird sorcerer starts doing an incantation spell to summon something into the mortal plane. The Nazis around him believe he failed, that he promised them that this wasn't a failure. This is where we see that a boy who resembles a demon or devil has been summoned where the army soldiers were at. And Lady Cynthia's prediction came true. Brennan Holm names the kid Hellboy, and a picture is taken showing Hellboy becoming part of this new family. Years pass, a lot actually, about 35 years, and Brennan Holm has contacted Hellboy because his teammates have all died after going on an excavation in the Arctic. Hellboy reassures the professor that everything will be alright, and frauds suddenly appear out of nowhere, and the professor freaks out, running out of the room. Hellboy calls out to him, but before he can catch up to him, the professor is hurled into the room through the wall, dead. Hellboy, enraged, tries to find the culprit and is greeted with a giant reptile frog creature. The two get into a fight, and Hellboy notices the creature's tongue has some kind of paralysis effect on him. He uses his right hand, the one made of stone, and dets the creature across the head, and before the creature can escape, he shoots it with his gun. Once the creature is dead, Hellboy contacts the BPRD, and him and his team set off to meet with Miss Cavendish. This is where we are introduced to two teammates of Hellboy, Elizabeth Sherman, a pyrotech, and Abraham Sapien, a type of fishman. Miss Cavendish, or Emma, tells Hellboy and his team about the Cavendish curse that has went through all the men in her family, with her three boys being the last ones, without heirs, finally ending the curse that started with the founder Elihu Cavendish himself. She offers her condolences to Hellboy as she knew him and Brennan Holm were close, and as she heads them all to bed, we see that she is visited by evil presence, the same one who summoned Hellboy in the beginning, who offers her to see her sons again. Hellboy asks Liz and Abe if they believe Emma's story, and as they give their thoughts, Liz mentions seeing frauds in her room, and Hellboy tells her to run as she is kidnapped. Abe was doing an investigation of the house and trying to find clues, finally able to ditch his disguise and be his real self, jumping out the window and splashing into the water below. They had realized the butler was actually a person in the photo named Seven Olafson, so something definitely was not right about the whole situation. After Hellboy arrives to Liz's room and sees her gone, the butler reveals himself and asks what's wrong. After Hellboy tells him to give the location where Liz is, or in where they took her, the butler transforms into one of the reptile frog creatures and a fight ensues. This fight was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It had some very good choreography, but eventually it ends up with Hellboy winning the fight and finds Emma, Miss Cavendish, dead. Feeling sorry that he should have known something was wrong, the sorcerer reveals himself, saying he is Hellboy's true father and wants him to join him to end the world. When Hellboy refuses, a giant squid-like creature grabs him and drags him down into a dark cave under the mansion. In this cave, the sorcerer explains how there are entities that instructed him how to unseal them from their prisons, and he uses the Cavendish family and others to try to get the energy he needed to revive his deities. Hellboy attacks the sorcerer and he just heals his head and face. Hellboy begins to think that this guy isn't all taught and is attacked by Olaf again in his creature form. While this happens, Abe is searching the underground and sees Emma and her two sons as they sink into the water below. He stumbles into the place where the body of Elihu Cavendish is. The battle with Hellboy and Olaf continues, and Hellboy starts to contemplate that he is losing this fight. He even thinks to himself he might be holding back since Olaf might still be human inside of this creature, but that could just be a thought that he's having. Hellboy, about to lose, is on the ground, and the sorcerer begins telling his origin, explaining how he used the Nazis and a special group was formed where he tried to use them to increase and move forward his plans to revive and unseal his deities from their prison. He then shows that he has Liz in a trance-like state, and by siphoning her hidden power he can unlock the deities from their prisons. He begins the incantation spell. He offers Hellboy one last chance to join him in the end of the world, and Hellboy's response is basically to go to hell. He responds with, "There's no need, creature, hell is coming here," and we see the body of Eliu Cavendish as Hellboy wonders where Abe is. The sorcerer's power is overflowing as he uses Liz to enhance his abilities. Hellboy, being punctured by Olaf, starts to realize he has one last chance and grabs a concussion grenade and jams it in the creature's throat. He tells Olaf, "If you're still in there, Olaf son, I'm sorry." The grenade works and Olaf is dead. Elsewhere, some alien-looking creatures are seeing what's happening and state if the sorcerer is successful, then this will be bad for other dimensions, not just the one we are in. The sorcerer is about to finally complete the incantation and win when a spear stabs through him in the back. Hellboy looks up and sees Abe, who seems to be possessed by Eliu Cavendish, who tells Liz to wake up, girl. This causes Liz to unleash tons of fire, which hurts the sorcerer. Abe grabs Liz and Hellboy tells him to get her and himself out of here. Abe tells him he wants to hear the full report of this and he better live to write it out. They all start to escape, but before Hellboy can go with them, he states for them to go on. He says, "I don't think I'm done here yet." As he looks back, he sees his father, the sorcerer, calling himself his master. They fight and Hellboy argues that yes, what you say might be true, and in a way, you are my father, but he didn't ask to be summoned here, but he is thankful for it, and he's thankful for the favor. The sorcerer tells him to think if he kills him, he'll never know who he is or understand the power that's inside of him. Hellboy says, "You're right, but I can live with it," landing the killing blow. The sorcerer yells, "I will see you crawl before me, this is not the end." Hellboy grabs his skull and says, "Well, it is for you," and crushes it, leaving nothing of his father behind. The Cavendish mansion and underground cave collapse and the case is closed. Hellboy later on asks Liz and Abe about their possession experiences. Liz says she feels like something was lifted from her, and Abe just says he doesn't remember much, having seen Cavendish's body and then seeing the sorcerer with a harpoon through his back and fire and a giant creature. Overall, this was a crazy night for all three of them. They ask Hellboy what his father told him in the very end, but we don't see his response to them. Instead, he just thinks to what his father said. This is not the end. The story closes out with a few shots of some castle, which seems to be of a Nazi origin, and three people who might be the next antagonists of the next story arc, but only time will tell when we continue the story in the second video. And yeah, that's going to be it for Hellboy's Seed of Destruction. This was the first story arc in the Hellboy series. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe as we will be covering the next story arc in the storyline. And it should be fun, and we're going to have a ton of fun with this Hellboy series. I will be covering other series instead of Hellboy on the channel. We'll be covering tons of comics on here. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and support the channel as we grow. And until next time, people, God bless you and have a great day.